birds that fly over the city, and the feeling of freedom. They are the most beautiful sounds of nature. Their free soaring in the sky has always been the envy of human beings trapped in the chaos of city life. Today, the birds that live with us seem quite happy. What about the birds of the past? Were they happy too? Since ancient times, animals that proved their bravery by serving in battles have written great epics of heroism. Horses carried to the front by ships, dogs carrying bombs, pigs burned and unleashed on the enemy, elephants wreaking havoc. Of course, not all of these animals were quadrupeds. Bomb-laden bats, spy storks, message-carrying pigeons were also used in wars. Turned into weapons, animals have paid a heavy price in the struggle between humans without any choice. Communication on the front line during war is crucial for armies. Pigeons carried thousands of messages, and contributed greatly to the war strategies of armies. Pigeons were indispensable helpers for armies fighting on the front line. There are many extraordinary stories about war pigeons throughout history. But the most important of these legends is the story of Cher Ami, the carrier pigeon who saved the lives of 194 soldiers and wrote an epic of heroism. In the spring of 1918, as the First World War raged in all its destructive intensity, nations sought to dominate each other through ruthless war tactics. At a time of the greatest suffering in history, the bloodiest attack was taking place in the Argonne Forest in northeastern France. The forest, which had been in German hands for nearly 4 years, was a dangerous place to fight. The United States sent the 308th Infantry Regiment to France to stop the devastating German advance. Headquartered in the Meuse, the American unit aimed to stop the German forces in the Argonne Forest. With only 25 miles between them and the enemy, the American Army sent a small battalion of 550 men under the command of Captain Charles Whittlesey deep into the forest. The German forces were vastly superior both in numbers and in weaponry. The American regimental commander, however, ordered them to proceed regardless. Captain Charles Whittlesey replied, "All right, I'll attack, but whether you'll hear from me again, I don't know." The American troops attacked, but the Germans fought back fiercely. Bombs were exploding, and bullets were flying everywhere. Soldiers were dying. The American unit suffered serious casualties in this offensive. After 5 days of fierce fighting, 356 American soldiers lost their lives. Forced to retreat to the trenches, Captain Charles Whittlesey and his men were badly hit. Food and ammunition were running out. Communication with the headquarters was lost. Soldiers, sent to carry messages to headquarters, were killed by the Germans. They had to report their position to the American headquarters and ask for help. Because they were in a dense forest, the cables for their communication equipment could not be pulled. That's why they couldn't communicate by radio. It was very tense at the headquarters. Because they had not heard from Captain Charles Whittlesey's battalion for several days. They thought the soldiers had disappeared because they could not be located. But, in fact, the battalion was where it was supposed to be. As their hopes began to fade, a reconnaissance plane was sent to the area and managed to locate the battalion. But they misidentified Captain Charles Whittlesey's battalion as enemy forces, and the American artillery opened fire on them. All hell broke loose. German soldiers on one side, and friendly allies on the other were shooting at the surviving soldiers. Captain Charles Whittlesey gave orders to send messages to headquarters by carrier pigeon. There were 3 carrier pigeons in the battalion. The first pigeon was fitted with a message on its leg, and flown away. But the Germans shot, and killed the pigeon as it took to the air to prevent them from sending news. A second pigeon was immediately sent. The Germans managed to shoot him too. The soldiers were running out of hope. Death was very close to them. All they had left was Cher Ami, a black check pigeon. By then, Cher Ami had successfully carried 11 important messages as part of the U.S. Army Signal Corps. But his 12th mission was vital, and could be his last. The fate of 194 soldiers was on the wings of this dove. With one last hope, the soldiers released Cher Ami into the sky. Seeing the pigeon rising from the bush, the Germans opened fire. Cher Ami managed to dodge the first shots with deft moves. But a few seconds later a bullet hit him in the leg. Before he knew what was happening, a second bullet hit him in the chest, and knocked him to the ground. American soldiers could do nothing but watch helplessly. Despite the bullets that hit his small body, Cher Ami was not dead, and was struggling to continue her mission. The soldiers began to pray. At that moment an incredible miracle happened. Cher Ami, who was hit by 2 bullets in the leg and chest, managed to take off again with a final push. The Germans looked at the bird in amazement, and fired. The pigeon managed to get away by flying quickly. American soldiers were very happy. But they were still uneasy. Because Cher Ami was wounded, and the headquarters was far away. There was nothing left to do but wait. Cher Ami managed to fly the long distance of 25 miles in 25 minutes to reach the American headquarters. It was a miracle. The message it carries: we are at parallel 276.4. Our own allies have opened fire on us. For God's sake, stop it, it said. The headquarters commander immediately ordered a ceasefire, and a rescue operation began for the soldiers trapped in the Argonne forest. Learning that a large American unit was coming, the German army withdrew and the soldiers were rescued. When Cher Ami arrived at headquarters, her body was covered in blood, one eye was blinded and her leg was about to be severed. Paramedics were able to save his life but not his leg. They made him a wooden leg so he could walk. When he was well enough to travel, he was sent to the United States. It was time to retire. For his heroic services he was awarded the Croix de Guerre Medal, the most prestigious French decoration of honor. Cher Ami died in New Jersey a year after returning home from wounds sustained in the war. His death caused great sadness in the American army. For days there was mourning for this great hero who saved the lives of 194 soldiers of the Lost Battalion. In 1931, he was inducted into the Racing Pigeon Hall of Fame. This great hero, whose memory was kept alive by being stuffed after his death, is waiting for visitors at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. Cher Ami has never been forgotten for her sacrifice.